All right, let's dive into a really fascinating idea that sits at this incredible crossroads of AI, pure community passion, and a market that's just been completely overlooked. We're going to explore a concept called ClawGrid, and it could totally change the game for high school fantasy football. So, to really get why this is a big deal, you first got to understand the scale we're talking about. The fantasy sports industry, it's an absolute behemoth. We're talking over $20 billion. It's a world dominated by giants, all focused on pro and college sports. And that right there kind of begs the question, doesn't it? With all that cash and all that attention on the big leagues, what about the very foundation of American football culture? The high school game. Which brings us, Mike, to our first big point. There is a massive blind spot in this market. There's this whole world of high school football fans, incredibly passionate, super engaged, that when it comes to fantasy sports is basically invisible. And this slide just lays it all out perfectly. I mean, look at the left. For pro and college fantasy, you've got household names: ESPN, Yahoo, Sleeper, the list just goes on and on. But then you look to the right for high school fantasy, and what do you see? Nothing. It's a total void, a huge empty space just begging for someone to step in. So how in the world do you fill that void? Well, this is where our hero comes into the picture. The solution here is a platform called ClawGrid. And get this, it's powered by some seriously smart AI designed to do what the big guys just haven't. And the engine under the hood is this thing called OpenClaw. The easiest way to think about it is like an AI assistant that you can teach to do really complicated jobs all by itself. It can process tons of data, pull information from websites, and even manage all the user stuff, making it the perfect tool to build this thing from scratch. So how does this AI magic actually work? Well, it's pretty much a three-step dance. First, OpenClaw would go out and gather up all the data, pulling stats in real time from public sites. Second, it automates all the scoring, instantly turning those raw numbers into fantasy points. And finally, it would handle the league management itself. Rosters, updates, you name it. Okay, so we've got the tech down. Now let's get to the really fun part, the market and the money. Why could this idea, which seems kind of niche, actually be a huge financial win? The thing is, the audience isn't just there. It's already fired up and deeply invested. We're talking about parents, alumni, students, and entire towns that absolutely live for Friday Night Lights, especially in football-crazy states like Texas. You don't have to build this audience. You just have to give them something they want. And here's the game plan for making money. You could run a freemium model. Basic leagues are free, but you pay a few bucks a month for premium features. You could get sponsorships from sports brands. And you could even sell anonymous data about player trends to college scouts. See? Multiple ways to bring in revenue. So, what does all that add up to? Well, the initial numbers are pretty darn convincing. If you can get just 10,000 people to sign up for a $5 a month premium plan in the first year, ClawGrid could potentially rake in $600,000. And that's before a single dollar from ads or partnerships. Okay, so far this sounds like a home run, right? But you knew there was a but coming. With any big idea like this, there are always big challenges. We absolutely have to talk about the legal and ethical minefield that's standing in the way. This is where things get tricky. And this quote from the source material, man, it just nails the biggest problem right on the head. Any platform that even looks like it involves betting on kids' sports is going to face some serious heat from national organizations and regulators. The risk here is very, very real. Let's break these challenges down. First, you've got the tech problem of data scraping. You could be breaking a website's rules right there. Second, the legal risks are huge. Some states ban this stuff outright, and anything involving minors is a legal labyrinth. And finally, you have the big ethical questions about protecting the privacy of young athletes. So what's the workaround? The number one most important rule has to be absolutely no cash prizes. Period. The whole thing has to be positioned as a game of skill. It's for fun, for community, for bragging rights, and it can't look or feel like gambling in any way, shape, or form. And really, this is the tightrope you have to walk. The goal is to build something fun that brings communities together. But the guardrail, the absolute non-negotiable rule, is that legal and ethical safety has to come before everything else. One wrong move here, and the whole thing could come crashing down. This means you can't just flip a switch and launch nationwide. No way. You've got to be smart, and you've got to be careful. You'd start with a simple prototype.
Test it out in a state where the laws are friendly. Use social media to find your first true fans, and only then you expand, slowly, one state at a time, making sure every single legal I is dotted.
So when you boil it all down, ClawGrid is a classic high-risk, high-reward situation. On one side, you have this huge untapped market and an incredible AI tool ready to go. But on the other, you've got that legal and ethical minefield that you have to navigate perfectly. And all of this leaves us with a much bigger question, one that goes way beyond fantasy football. Is powerful AI like this becomes easier for anyone to use? Is it going to be the key that finally unlocks all of our niche passions? Or are we going to discover that in some areas, the risks, the legal and ethical dangers of automation are just too high? It's definitely something to think about.